Hello everyone, this is my audience for my persuasive speech. Okay. In my last speech, I informed you guys on what recidivism is and the issue that is at hand in the United States. For this speech, I will try and persuade you all on why we must lower this rate and what we can do to lower it. Sometimes sending reoffenders back to prison actually does more harm than good. There are many alternatives that the justice system can do instead of just throwing people back into jail or prison. 55% of criminals in state prisons are mentally ill. Instead of sending these people with illnesses to jail, we can send them to mental wards or get them on some sort of treatment program with help of some medication. I have a graph here to show you there's actually 356,000 mentally ill inmates across the United States, and there's only 35,000 mentally ill patients in hospitals. So there's a lot more people with mental illnesses that are in jail than in a hospital, which is where they should be. It's nearly 10 times the amount. Also, these are the type of mental illnesses that people have that are behind bars. 21% of people that are locked up have depressive disorder. 12% have manic depression and bipolar. Just goes down the line. 8% have anxiety disorder, and 6% have personality disorder. So another thing that the courts could do is instead of sending the person back to jail or prison, they could issue or sentence the criminal to do community service. This has been shown to reduce reoffending by 6%. The Ministry of Justice compiled this data by comparing offenders with roughly similar crimes and offense histories and then analyzing the outcomes of their different sentences. Another thing that can be done is simply not sending someone to prison and giving them a suspended sentence, such as probation, works better too. People who get a suspended sentence are 9% less likely to reoffend than someone who committed a similar crime but got sent to prison. So, long story short, basically, people who get a suspended sentence are 9% less likely to reoffend than someone who committed a similar crime but got sent to prison. Campaigners for a restorative justice program, where offenders engage with the impact of their crime and often meet their victims, say it can reduce reoffending by up to 27%. A government analysis puts the improvement at a more conservative 14%. So basically, if the criminal has a victim in their case, if they get to meet the victim and see the kind of impact that they have caused that person and their families, it makes them more humane and more aware of what they're doing and how they're impacting people. So getting to know the victim of their crime can really help a person become more aware and less likely to do the crime again, because they're seeing they're hurting real people. But there is a limitation on that. The restorative justice that is considered effective for more minor crimes such as burglary. Restorative justice isn't used for offenses like domestic violence, murder, or rape. In those situations, it is not safe for the criminal to be by the victim. If they rape them or if they murder them, the victim's not around. Getting prisoners to meet their victims can reduce reoffending by 14%. What else helps, you may ask? Family visits according to the trust. It's something that helps prisoners keep links with normal life while they're inside, so it makes it easier to adjust when they get out. 40% of prisoners stated that support from their family would help them stop reoffending in the future. So if you have a loved one that is behind bars, they're really down there, and they're more than likely they want you to be able to talk to them, and basically it shows that if you're there and supporting them while they're behind bars, they have a way less likely chance to reoffend when they get out. So you guys can help them get on their feet. Research indicates that the likelihood of reoffending was 39% higher for prisoners who had not received visits whilst in prison compared to those who had. So 39% more higher for the people whose family wasn't there for them. So if you can be there for your loved ones while they're in jail, it would really help them when they get released. So prison is the wrong type of environment for someone who is trying to better himself. Being locked away with a bunch of angry criminals who are all depressed and just mad at the world really isn't a good environment for someone who's trying to rehabilitate themselves. In prisons, there's lots of drugs that go around. Some say there's more drugs in prison than there is on the streets. People have their families send money, and instead of buying food on the commissary, they'll spend it on drugs. And for someone who's trying to remain sober when they get out, this is not helping the situation at all. In some cases, the government has already taken a step in the right direction by allowing businesses that hire felons to be able to write it off and receive tax breaks. I know there's a few companies around here that are felon friendly. They hire felons, and since they hire felons, the government gives them a break, and when tax time comes, they'll be able to write that off and receive a tax break. So that's a step in the right direction. I do feel like the government needs to be more aware of this situation at hand, and we need to start getting people help instead of just throwing them back in prison, because obviously prison and jail isn't working. People are just reoffending, but it is shown that programs, people who are taking substance abuse programs in jail, I know it's a small number, but they're 2% less likely. Recidivism rate for Porter County is 67%. For those who are taking the IOP class in jail, which is a substance abuse, it's like an inpatient rehab kind of, inpatient outpatient, they're 65% less more likely to reoffend. It's lower than 67, it's still 2%, but 2%, I mean, that's probably like 10 or 20 people's lives that they're saving. So there is programs that are starting to become more available to inmates who really do want to better themselves. So that is it for my persuasive speech. I want to thank you all for watching. If you could pan the audience real quick. Okay, thank you guys for watching.